Okay, we're live. Hello and welcome. Thank you for your patience. I believe I am live and I'm not just talking to myself here in this room. It says that I am live. So welcome. We had some glitches and today Nick won't be able to join us. We tried to Zoom through Zoom so we would have music and my talk as well, but we couldn't. That just wasn't working. So I switched over here to come live on Facebook. And thank you for your patience and thank you for waiting. And as usual, allow me to light the chalice and look what I chose today. It's a flower. We brought this little. Hold on, there's the camera. We brought this little thing in Hungary a few years ago, and it's Easter, and I figured it's very fitting to have our chalice on this Easter morning. It's all lit, believe it or not. And on this morning, you Unitarian Universalists across the world, wherever they are, they do light the chalice because this is the symbol of our faith. It is the symbol of our truth-seeking nature. So the words we usually say in church when we light the chalice and say, please recite them with me if you can. If not, just hear me out. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And I am Reverend G. Welcome to the Easter service here at the living room of Unitarian Universalist Community Church in Portage. And it is my living room because everything is virtual now. I'm still delighted to be with you. And if you would be so kind, just for a short moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and center into this moment. I need it myself because I got anxious about not being able to go live a few minutes ago. So take a deep breath and relax. And as you exhale, just release tension from your body, stress, anxiety. Notice what you hold in, that which shortens your breath, and just release. And allow yourself to be present to this moment, in this here and now, where everything is calm, everything is enough, and it is just right. And notice your thoughts. Identify them. What are they about? Thank them for sharing their life with you. And release them to where they came from. Remember to breathe in, breathe out. Allow for an opening in your chest. Breathe into your heart space. And breathe into gratitude. Gratitude for possibilities of still being together, of finding a way, of wanting to be together. Gratitude for all that is. And together we say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And as you are ready, I invite you to open your eyes and return your presence to here and now. And good morning and welcome. How are you? I wonder a lot about you. I don't get to see you anymore. I do see you on my screen on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Those of you who join into our Zoom meetings, the coffee hour with Reverend G on Tuesday mornings and happy hour with Reverend G Thursday evenings. So I'm plugging that this is available on Tuesday mornings at 11. You can meet with me, as well as Thursday at 7 p.m. on Zoom. We usually have good conversations, definitely fellowship, and we get to be together a little bit. But I do wonder about you, all of you, really. I wonder about us too. I right now wonder about Patty. She's in a truck out there. Those of you who don't know, my wife, Patty, is a paramedic. And she's out there answering calls. They were given N95 masks. They were told to use one mask for 5 patients. Then write their name on the mask and put it in a plastic bag. And if and when they run out of masks, they will get to reuse these. I do believe that's criminal. We have had conversations about her quitting because is it really worth it? They don't have protective gear. They have some sort of protection that they can wear if they go to a confirmed COVID-19 patient. But there's no way to confirm who is a COVID-19 patient, so they don't wear them. So protection is little to none. We do talk about her quitting because is it really worth it? But then she carries our health insurance. We would lose the health insurance, especially at a time like this. Now, there's promises from the government that the test we know is free, but who knows about the treatment? What about if something else happens to us in the meantime? We could go on health insurance through the church. We could get that. We just can't afford it. It is significantly more expensive than the one Patty gets through her work as a paramedic. So I always hear about those people who say they're so protective of their health insurance, and I'm wondering, like, what kind of health insurance do you have that you're so protective of it? How good is it? Because Patty's is pretty good, and I just had major surgery, and the bills are starting to come in. With our health insurance, I expect probably about 20 grand for this little health sickness escapade surgery trip to California that we had. So I don't know what kind of health insurance others have that are so protective of and would not want to have health insurance for all. Anyway, you're wondering, gee, it's Easter. Why are you talking about this? You're regressing, aren't you? And perhaps I am, and perhaps I'm not. It is Easter. So let me take you back a little bit to see why we even have Easter, why we celebrate Easter in this Western Christianized world. There's a lot of people out there who, to them, it's Sunday today. It's just simply Sunday. So what happened was Easter is the resurrection of Jesus. So Jesus was killed, crucified, and then was put in a tomb for 3 days, and on the third day, supposedly, or allegedly, he rose from the dead. He beat death. But why was he killed? That's what I'm really curious about. And so allow me to take you back a little bit in time and introduce you to the world then and there. Why not? Back in the day of Jesus, the land of the Jews was conquered by the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire was such that if whatever land they conquered, they kept. They were good at keeping it. And they had a system of how they went about it. Well, first of all, they sent in their troops, which their army was extremely powerful, well developed, and other nations usually could not withstand it. So they would conquer a foreign people, and then there was a system that they put in place. First of all, they went in with their engineers and they built roads out of stone. So these roads were no mud roads. In other words, regardless of the weather, they were able to use these roads. So they made sure that with their troops, they could always get wherever they wanted to at 14 miles a day. It seems like nothing today for us. We can fly. Our cars are so fast, but back in the day, that was phenomenal, that a large army could travel at a 14-mile a day pace. Then, with their engineers, they also built high arch bridges over rivers, which meant that they were protected from floods. So even if the rivers were flooding, they could still progress, make that 14-mile a day progress through these high arch, no flood bridges. It's remarkable. Then, this also meant that these roads could be used for other reasons as well, such as commerce. The locals could transport their goods on these roads at a predictable rate and pace. So commerce was possible. Also, as they were building these bridges and these roads, they were introducing their currency. So the economy got a boost. There was another thing that they did. It's very clever. So imagine that each country, each people that they took over, they had a ruling class, nobility, kings. And so these people, normally, if their country was conquered, would be displaced. So they would either have to flee or hide in the country or just go without power because the conquering nation would hold on to power. But that's not what the Romans did. They went to these ruling classes and they said, you can stay in your position. In fact, some of you can even serve in our Senate. So it's not that you get to stay in your position, but we're elevating your position. You will be still the ruling class. You will have a lot of power. We will make sure that you understand that there's also a pecking order here, and we are above you, but we make sure that you still have a lot of power. So the ruling classes had the incentive of maintaining the Roman rule because, guess what? They were also told, and really, whoever served in the Senate could become emperor. So people of conquered nations, theoretically, could become the emperor of the Roman Empire. Well, that is pretty attractive, right? So they maintained, therefore, their power, and they kept these countries that they conquered. Romans kept what they conquered, and thus they grew their empire. So back in the day, the exact same thing happened with the land of the Jews. They were conquered, and the high priests were left in position. The king was left in position. And sure, they had some oversight from the Romans, but still, they had what they liked: power, wealth. Now, it was very different for the peasants, for the laborers. There was no middle class, and then there were peasants and laborers, and for them, life was very, very different. They had to pay taxes even before the Roman takeover. They had to pay taxes to the priests, to the king. It was hard back then too. But now that the Romans came, their taxes grew even higher. Because think about it. The Jewish leadership, nobility, the king, the high priest, the priests in general, they didn't want less taxes than they had before. But on top of their taxes, the Romans also had to be satisfied. The Romans collected serious taxes from every country that they conquered. And who carried the burden of paying the taxes? The laborers, the peasants, the ones on whose backs the economy grew, flourished, and who had no way of advancing in this society. Us humans, we tend to be that way, that we would prefer it that if we have offsprings, children, we'd like for them to have a better life than what we were able to carve out for ourselves. That was impossible back in the day. The life of the parents was hard enough, and the future wasn't better for the children as well. They were just strangled by taxes. And not just by taxes, but the whole culture changed. So when empire came in, they it's so weird to do church from home because things pop up on my computer that don't know how to undo that. So the I don't know how to. I apologize. I don't know how to undo that. I am just going. So they had to. It was very. Let me get my thought back, and I truly apologize. What is happening? My family at home is writing to each other from home in Hungary on Messenger, and Messenger and Facebook are linked on my computer. So they are typing each other happy Easter messages, and it's popping up on my screen, and I don't know how to stop it. So I just asked them to please don't write anymore because I'm live with you guys, and I apologize for this. It is what it is. It's the new world, right? For right now. So the children couldn't have a better future. And then the culture was changing, because that was another thing that the Romans did. They changed the culture. They changed the ideology by force. So the way the Romans conquered was peace through victory, peace through war. And then the emperor said, I am the king of peace. I am God. I am the Son of God. I know that you would expect that these terms applied to Jesus, but it's not true at all. Initially, it was the terms and the titles that the emperors were giving: Son of God, King of Peace, Lord, ruler, all the terms and titles that today we associate with Jesus were in fact associated with the Caesar, Augustus. And so the peasants, the laborers, the ones who were killed by these taxes, who carried this heavy burden with no hope in the future, no better future promised to them, they wanted to fight off the Roman yoke. And so throughout the years, there were many attempts, and different fractions tried to affect this change, and they were also very angry with the king and the high priest and the priest in general, because they perceived that they compromised. They compromised military power, political power, as well as as well as the religion was compromised. They allowed the religion to be compromised by the Romans. The high priests were willing to bow to the emperor when they should have only bowed to the one God. That's what the Jews believed. So the sicaries came, and they were called sicaries because they would get into these big crowds and then they would murder priests with their sickle. And then they would join the crowd immediately, who was just completely shocked that, oh, somebody just got killed. And they would also act like, oh, somebody just got killed. And it was very hard to catch them. And then there were other fractions. But what's interesting, they were trying to get to justice through war as well. So they wanted to get to peace again through war, through violent actions. And then in comes Jesus, who is also present and very aware of the harsh and hard conditions and the injustice that is widespread in the country if you were a laborer. So there's widespread injustice, and he wants to change it. He cares. He cares for the people. He cares also for the one God, the one religion. And then he organizes. And he does it differently. He is not the first one to invent non-violent resistance, but he is one who, through many conditions that were just right in the time, became one of the most famous one of that time. So he is trying to create justice through peace. So the Romans were getting to peace through violence, and he wants to get to peace through social justice. Big difference. Peace through violence or peace through social justice. And that is what Jesus is doing. So, obviously, he is a threat. He is a threat to the Jewish leadership, and he is a threat to the Roman leadership as well. And that is why, in the end, Jesus is crucified, because he is viewed as a threat. And probably he is viewed as more of a threat by the Jewish leadership than by the Roman leadership, but he's a threat to both, nonetheless. And so he is crucified. He had, however, developed a large followership. So the people had a hard time letting go of this hope. So, of course, allegedly, he resurrected, because we just can't allow for hope to die. And that was such a hope that they couldn't let go, that I believe, that's just my interpretation, that then the story was that no, Jesus actually didn't die. Nobody could kill somebody who was loved so much, whose ideas were so good, and who tried to affect change and wanted to bring about peace through social justice. Then, throughout the history, there were others who also tried to bring about social justice through peace. So there was Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Desmond Tutu, Mandela. There were many people throughout history who wanted to bring about social peace through social justice. And now let me circle back to the beginning of my talk. That here we are, we're in the midst of a pandemic. And in this time, I think if anything is revealed, is that the social system that we have created is without a safety net. It is such that does not support human life, and human life with dignity and possibility and resources. We've created a life that is cruel, survival of the fittest, it seems to be the rule of the day. And I think it's becoming obvious that this system that we've created, which honors the dollar, honors profit, quarter-term profiteerism, does not also support human life. That if any emergency hits, such as a pandemic, then the system collapses. And who are the most hurt? Obviously not the billionaires, they'll be fine. Not the very rich, they'll be okay. It's the laborers. It's the ones who carry this economy, the burden of this economy on their backs, who don't have any savings or such small savings that it can't even carry them for a whole month. So in this pandemic, the fault lines are revealed. It's always been true. It's always been there. But now it's in our face and we can't turn away from it. We can't deny it anymore. That the system we've created is not working and we must change it. So I had these conversations with Patty, and the other day I received a text from a good friend of mine who asked me, so what do I think? Will there be a change now? Will we, humanity, awaken and bring about justice, and bring about a structure that is much changed and supports human life and allows dignity and allows a possibility, even for those who carry the burden of economy on their backs, a possibility for them to be strong, healthy, and have the possibility of weathering life with dignity. And of course, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It is my hope and wish that this will happen. And I would like to hope, and this is the time, to bring about peace through social justice. The fault lines are revealed. We see that the average American hasn't got savings to help them through hard times. We see that minorities are even worse off than the average white American. And as we go down the list, it's just becoming harder and harder and harder. So Jesus started the movement to bring about social justice, to bring about peace through social justice. It is my hope and wish that we complete that work, that we are the saviors that we've been waiting for. You and I. You and I have to come together, find the guts, find the inspiration, the wisdom, to effect and institute change that supports life, not just for those on top, but for absolutely everyone. That justice is distributed for everyone, regardless of their social economic status, regardless of their gender, race, position in the world. Justice is equally distributed. You are the savior we've been waiting for. Peace through social justice. It is my hope and wish that it is the message that we resurrect this year. And this year for sure, in the midst of a pandemic, when fears are high, when anxiety is high, I believe that the circumstances are ripe, but definitely in our face, for us to see where and how change has to be brought about. So may we do that together, peacefully, wisely, with maximum determination, in honor of life, with maximum inclusivity. May we resurrect the message, for we cannot resurrect the messenger. But may we resurrect the message, and may we carry it out this year, this time. In Hungarian we say, you have to hit the iron while it's red, while it's hot. Well, the iron is hot. So what shall we do with it? And so I hold this possibility in my heart as I hold every single one of you. And I wish you health. I wish you strength. Those of you who are sick, I wish you healing. Those of you who have loved ones far away from you or even close, but in the hospital and you cannot see them, my heart is running out to you. I can't even imagine the agony of not being able to be with your loved ones at this time. I gently carry you in my heart, and I know that our entire community is doing just that as well. And then may we find renewal as nature is awakening, and with it, may we awaken as well and strive for peace through social justice for all. And so it is, and happy Easter. Thank you for joining me. I hope you will join me again. I am sorry that we couldn't have Nick with us today to provide music as well. We had beautiful, powerful music picked out that supported this message so well, but it wasn't meant to be. Also, I would like to bring it to your loving attention that now that we don't meet in the church, we no longer pass the offering plate. However, we still have the expenses. We're still paying the staff. We're still honoring all our commitments that we've had before. Our bills are still coming in. So Miriam, I believe, has linked our donate button to the Facebook page. If it is yours to do, if you can afford it, if you haven't lost your job, if you're not struggling, if it's yours to do, then I invite you to please donate and donate abundantly. Help us be present, help us share the message, be a voice in the wilderness as it is and when it is needed. And those of you who are struggling, don't even think about clicking on that link. There's no pressure here, there's no guilt, blame, or shame. We are here in community, we are here to hold each other up. Hold each other up the best way we know how to. So here it is to all of us in great love. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining. And now I am going to extinguish my chalice. And if you have lit your own, I invite you to do the same. And though we extinguish this light, which reminds us of our justice and truth-seeking nature, we know that we carry this within. So will you say these words with me if you can, and if you don't, then just listen to me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So go and change your world. You are, you always have been, the Savior you've been waiting for. And so it is. Thank you. Until next time. Bye.